I'm Anil Mall, representing the Canadian Securities Exchange, and thank you for tuning into another CSE listed issuer update. Today, I am talking to Scott Eldridge. Scott is the CEO of United Lithium Corp, trades on the CSE under the symbol ULTH. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I hope you're well.
Yes, thank you for hosting me today, Anil. I really appreciate it, and it's a great opportunity to help spread the word about the good things that United Lithium is doing at the moment.
Perfect. Well, let's start with lithium. There's been so much news around it. What's driving all of this interest?
Yeah, so if we take a look more at the 30,000-foot level in terms of what's happening now across the world, we're all going through the energy transition. We're striving to achieve net zero. There's government mechanisms that are supporting that to happen at the industry level. And it's not just lithium, it's renewable energy, which includes wind, solar, hydro. Electric vehicles are a major component of the recipe that will help us navigate through the green energy revolution to achieve net zero. And with that, of course, we start to talk about lithium batteries to support the EV sector. And there's no question when we look at the demand curve in terms of what the forward forecasting looks like in the lithium space, and it's quite simple. We're not producing enough lithium right now, and the world needs more of it. And that creates an opportunity for United and our shareholders to capitalize on that and help deliver future projects to feed the EV lithium space.
So our viewers would have guessed you're a lithium company. Why don't you give us a brief introduction to you, your company, and what your focus is?
So my background, I've been in the metals and mining industry now for 15 years. I started off as an equity buy-side analyst for a German precious metals equity fund, and I was trained to analyze companies for the portfolio, mostly precious metals, but junior companies just like United. From there, I ran my own merchant banking firm, sourcing European institutional money for Canadian mining companies. And then for the last 6 years, I've been on the issuer side of the business, various chairman, CFO, CEO roles. And I've been the CEO of United since February when our group took the company over. And in terms of United, we saw an amazing portfolio where the previous management had put together 5 hard rock pegmatite projects spread across tier 1 mining jurisdictions, including the US, Sweden, and Finland. And we saw these as excellent projects that had amazing value to be unlocked with more dedicated capital and operational teams to move the assets forward. And that's exactly what our team has done in the past. And when I say our team, that's the collective board, management, strategic advisors. We all have plenty of accolades in the mining space. We have an exemplary record in the lithium space. United is actually our third company. Our first company, Millennial Lithium, was sold in January 2022 for approximately $500 million. And those same shareholders are now involved in United. And we're applying the same strategy in our previous companies to United with a disciplined, calculated approach. And being in the tier 1 mining jurisdictions is extremely important when we start to see the positive contributions that governments are making around in the world, particularly in the US. With the Inflation Reduction Act, you'll see $500 billion worth of loans, grants, tax incentives come down into the renewable energy space, including EVs. And over in Europe, in Q1, we're on the verge of seeing the adoption of the Critical Raw Materials Act, which is the European Union's version of the IRA. And that also brings many benefits to what we're doing in Sweden and Finland.
So you mentioned tier 1 mining districts. What makes a region a tier 1 mining district?
Well, a lot of it relates to the history and the acceptance of mining. We're starting to see more and more NIMBYism pop up, not in my backyard. And that's in the oil and gas, the mining, resort development industry. It's not just mining. But we're starting to see that people recognize that for us all to have computers and phones and electric vehicles, we need to be accepting of the mining industry. And it has to be done by the book. You have to dot your I's, you have to cross your T's. ESG is becoming more and more relevant. So we look to be involved in countries that we see an opportunity where if we make a discovery and move that forward, what are the chances of success in terms of getting through the permitting process? And to us, that is what delivers our scoring of what is and isn't a tier one mining jurisdiction.
Well said. I was just, obviously we work in the industry, so we're well aware of what that is. But for viewers that might just be coming into the space, there's a lot of younger investors in the markets now. So I think it's very important for us to bring that up, that we, Canada especially has great mining practices. We have infrastructure, and Sweden, it's one of Europe's top leading metal producing countries, isn't it?
Yes, you are correct there. So out of all of Europe, Sweden has the most operating mines at 12.
That's
so
12.
They're number one in Europe in the number of mines, and they have a significant mining history.
Wow.
A lot of iron ore production, copper, gold, and there was recently a graphite mine that's going to produce graphite anodes approved through the whole full permitting process in Sweden. So what you're starting to see is an integrated value chain in the Nordics slowly being developed. And that creates an opportunity for United. And with the opportunity coming of the Critical Raw Materials Act, they've adopted a fast-track permitting process that states any qualifying project, and lithium is the top of that list, along with copper, nickel, graphite, etc. The permitting process has to be completed in 12 to 24 months. And that's something we've never seen in the mining space.
I was just going to say that it definitely makes that journey a lot more smoother, where you don't have to sort of just sit there and butt heads and try to figure out when that permit's going to be coming in. Now, I want to talk, Scott, a little bit about, your team has been busy for quite a while now, but 2023, you guys have had a consistent flow of news. So you've been very busy. Why don't we talk a little bit about the progress in 2023? What did you guys do?
Right. So we have 5 projects in our portfolio, again, all hard rock pegmatites. And there was news on multiple different properties over 2023, as you mentioned. That trend will continue in 2024. We are quite busy, but we are also very focused on our Bergy project in Sweden. And that was our most recent news release a couple of days ago. And I won't go into the technical details of it, but we delivered high-grade intercepts that are the right widths that you would want to see. They're very close to surface. And the Bergy project is encircled by world-class mining infrastructure. We're about 200 kilometers north of Stockholm, and you can drive there on the E4 highway. It goes right through the property. We're also 1 kilometer away from a port, which is unheard of in the lithium space, in addition to power and labor sources. So for our shareholders, as we continue to deliver on discoveries, you will see more of that in the form of news releases. To answer your question specifically, we have a ton of results waiting in the lab. So we just published an amazing result of almost 2% lithium over 27 meters near surface. Yeah. And we'll continue to deliver on results. We'll continue to get news out. And I would also remind the audience that, we're sitting on the left side of the Lassonde curve, which is where you want to be. And we're very early in the crescendo here of Bergy, where the volume is starting to increase, and that will continue to see that happen as we move into 2024.
Would it be fair to say that is sort of the main focus out of the 5, the Bergy?
Bergy is number 1. There's no question about that, and it's the most advanced project. We've drilled about 16,000 meters there. Okay. Spread over about 180 holes. We're drilling on the property now. We're getting excellent results. Again, it's encircled by amazing infrastructure, which would contribute to a lower upfront capital cost and lower operating costs as we move the project forward. And there's also I would argue, a scarcity premium for having a project in Europe. And as was mentioned earlier with the Critical Raw Materials Act, the European Union is really pushing forward the future of the EV industry, where they want to see domestic production from Europe. And Europe today does not have an operating lithium mine for the EV space. There's a couple of small lithium mines in, say, Portugal or Spain that feed ceramics, but there is no lithium mine in Europe to feed the EV sector, yet it's one of the world's largest manufacturing bases and end user demand markets for the purchase of electric vehicles. Across the water from us in Finland, across the Gulf of Bothnia, about 440 kilometers away, Europe's first lithium mine for EVs is being built right now, and that's a private company called Calibre.
Okay.
They're 85% owned by Sibanye-Stillwater, which is a public company listed on the NYSE. And Sibanye paid about 440 million euros to own 85% of that project.
Wow.
And our geological target is in line with what that project has already delivered.
Are there any other key points from this year's work program for any of your other projects that you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, circling back to your previous question there, I was making a segue over to Finland talking about Calibre, but United also owns our own property in Finland. It's nothing to do with Calibre, but it's our property, and we released drill results on that project recently, where we're seeing the same grades and widths near surface as Sweden, and we're in the southern part of the country, surrounded by amazing infrastructure. The name of the project is Keitsionmäki in Finland. And it's a couple of years behind Sweden, but it could become its own standalone project in its own right as we move that forward. So what we need to do there is more early stage mapping and sampling, probably base of till sampling, to see if we can identify future drill targets. But we're excited about Finland as well. And in addition to that, we haven't had time to talk about it, but we've got 3 interesting projects in the US as well.
Well, we can definitely get into that. Obviously, those are the out of the 5, you have 3 in the U.S. So let's talk a little bit about that. What region of the U.S. are you focused in?
So we're in South Dakota, Colorado, and Wyoming.
Okay.
And we don't have a lot of time, so I'll focus on South Dakota and Colorado. So they're both past producing pegmatite districts, and pegmatites are the host bodies for lithium, but they can also carry a lot of other goodies. So Colorado and South Dakota have a significant pegmatite mining history here, where they were mined more for beryllium during the war efforts,
okay,
versus the lithium. But when our geologists went through all the old data and historical reports, there's a lot of information from the USGS, you can start to uncover documents that document lithium in these regions. So the team went in there and we staked these opportunities, and on both Colorado and South Dakota, I'll rope them together. We've done the early stage sampling and mapping, where we feel on both properties, we've identified drill targets where we see lithium outcrop at surface in the pegmatites. So we'll move forward with the drill permitting process on these projects, and we could probably look to drill perhaps in, say, April or May. But again, our real focus is Sweden here. So these are optionality for our shareholders, where I would argue United has one of the preeminent hard rock pegmatite exploration portfolios out there of any publicly listed equity. And this gives our shareholders exposure to 5 different projects, which means 5 potential discoveries.
And a strong team who's done this before.
Yes, absolutely. The main backers of the team are Ian Scarr. He was one of the founders and chief operating officer of Millennial. He's now a director of United. And Andrew Bowering was a major part of Millennial as well. He's a strategic advisor and one of the largest shareholders in United. So we have a great team here in terms of the board, management, strategic advisors, and powerful shareholders that have done this before in the lithium space successfully.
I look forward to hosting you on again in 2024, because I'm sure you're going to have more developments and news to talk about. Is there anything our viewers can look out for from you and your team in 2024? Any milestones you can talk about?
Yes. Well, as mentioned before, we are still drilling in Sweden, and we're moving towards completion of a 6,000 meter drill program that'll carry over into Q1. and we have a backlog of assay results.
Correct. You mentioned that.
So I would encourage anyone to put us on your watch list. There's definitely more news to come, not just from Sweden, but from the other projects.
Yeah.
Our plan is to move forward and execute here, and plenty of news flow.
We always encourage our viewers to go to your website, read up on the projects, read up on your background and the team, and of course, sign up for your press releases so they can keep up with the news as it comes out. And, if they are interested, I encourage them to reach out directly to you and your team, ask questions. It's the best way to get out there. So where can we direct our viewers?
Yes, Anil. So our website is unitedlithium.com, easy to find. And we will be hosting a webinar on November the 29th at 1 p.m. Pacific. And there's a pop-up as you go to the website where it's very simple to register for that. And for viewers that are available to tune in and watch that, it'll be myself as well as our EVP Exploration, Kathy Fitzgerald, diving into the details of the news release on the recent drill results in Sweden. So that'll be a real opportunity for people that want more detail. We'll do a deeper dive there, and we'll have about a 30-40 minute presentation followed by Q&A. So there's a chance for people to ask questions. And if you're not available, there's also an opportunity to view it, as we'll be posting that on YouTube and in our website.
Scott, I really appreciate you taking the time to not only educate myself, but talk to our viewers a little bit about the progress that you and your team have done over 2023 and what to expect in 2024. To everybody watching, you've been listening to Scott Eldridge. He is the CEO of United Lithium Corp. It's ULTH on the CSE. And Scott, I look forward to hosting you on again in 2024 so we can talk a little bit more in detail about the successes you guys have come across.
No, thank you very much, Anil. Appreciate it. And come the next conversation we have, we'll definitely have some more drill results in hand. So there'll be some interesting things to chat about for sure.
Perfect. Thank you again for tuning in.
Thank you.